Jason, happy Tony's week.
Happy Tony Award week. Yeah, it's
so
exciting.
It's so exciting. I love being in New York. I love running around the theaters during Tony week. It's something so magical and stupid. This is going to tie into exactly what I want to talk about.
But wait,
sorry,
we should introduce ourselves.
I'm popping off. You know
I
what?
know, you're excited.
Do you think that finally, after 38 episodes, I would remember we should introduce ourselves to our listeners?
Yeah, you're excited. It's okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Survival Johnson Podcast in collaboration with BroadwayWorld. My name is Samantha Dawn Tutzelo, and this is my beautiful, amazing, talented co-host, Jason A. Coombs.
Yes, I was doing I was putting my curls up, fancy for you.
Yeah,
for those who can't watch the video. No, you're super excited. So yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm
excited.
I cut
the train off of your excitement, but I want you to go in, jump in, tell me all about it.
It's still here. So I was saying, as a kid, I would always get excited for the Tonys and watch them. Ben, shout out to Ben, who never listens to this podcast. We would watch it in his parents' living room or whatever. Aww. I would watch it with my mom, whatever. But now being in New York, it's just the energy is so exciting. And sometimes I get a little jaded. I'm very blessed to be involved with Broadway at some level because my friends are fancy. And I sometimes forget the roots. So this weekend, this past Sunday, I saw Which Way to the Stage. And I'm so sad it was closing night because I want to shout about it. And I want everyone to run to see it, especially theater children, theater adults, any theater lover at any age. It was so unbelievable. Here we go. Which Way to the Stage. It was at MCC.
Yes. So it's a play.
Written by Anna. I'm not going to butcher the last name.
It looks like Nogueira, but I could be totally off. Could be totally wrong, but it's Nogueira. So I'm gonna take a shot at saying Nogueira, but I could be
Thank you. Wrong. I would trust you more than I would trust me.
Well,
let me tell you, it was such a love letter to theater kids who have grown into theater adults. And it was a moment for me to remember, why do I live here? What do I do? Why do I go to Broadway shows? Why do I act? Why do I have this podcast? We have this podcast. Yeah. Why do we do these things? And this play was a reminder of passion, love, what the root of it is. Why are we artists? I could cry. I was sitting next to Ben, who never listens to this podcast again. Maybe he'll listen to this one because he knows Julie, our guest, which we'll talk about later. I was sitting next to Ben and I was like, Ben, it's us. He saw it twice. So he said that to me before we went. He was like, it's us. It doesn't look like us, but it's us. As kids, we grew up together. I'm going to tell a quick story. And by we, I mean he did as well. But Brooklyn, the musical, starting Eden Espinosa when I was 13 was my favorite. Literally, I was like, this is the best musical ever. It was my favorite musical as a kid. We literally stalked. Sorry, Eden, if you're listening. And by we, I mean I was obsessed. I was looked up to her so much. And literally broke into the stage door. Seriously, broke into the stage door because I wrote her a letter. Or I was talking to the person working the door. I said, please give this letter to Eden. I'm so sorry. We just broke in here. It was me, my mom, and Ben. And she walked down the stairs and I have all these photos. I was a kid, crying, thank you for doing this. You're such an inspiration, blah, blah, blah. Then we grew up and that sort of fanness goes away in a sense, right? You still admire actors and artists for their work, but you're not so oh my God, you just sort of grow into it, I guess. Yeah, but this play, the play brought me back to that child.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. I was just gonna say, I think I was the same way when you're a young theater lover as a kid and you go to the stage door. But I think when you become an adult, it's oh well, these are potential colleagues, people I want to work with. So you view it differently.
For sure.
When you get older and you're still pursuing this crazy dream. You're okay, those are my future collaborators. I don't want to look like an insane person.
Yeah, actually. But yeah, everyone, I'm sorry that this is happening so late in the game and you cannot go to MCC and see it. But I'm pretty sure, that this is going to Signature Theater in DC. I'm not sure when. When it does, get your tickets, take the bus, take the train, hitchhike, do whatever you need to do.
Hitchhike, yes.
Hitchhike, yes. I mean, it's, I think like even non-theater lovers would appreciate it because the show is great, but anybody who's a theater kid, was a theater kid, is a theater adult, is a theater senior citizen, is a theater baby,
love it.
Go see this because it's just such a reminder. It took me to a place of like, oh, I forgot like how lucky I am now, whether I'm a working actor or not, I exist and live in the Broadway world.
Yes, shout out.
And it's just like, oh my God, like as a kid, to think that I would live in Hell's Kitchen and I walked to the theater and I walked to Glass House. Not that I was a child knowing what Glass House was, but whatever. And to like live this life, it's just such a blessing. And I'm so grateful. And I think everyone should go see this play. And also shout out to Sass Goldberg, Max Jenkins, and Evan Todd, and Michelle Ventimiglia. Please come on the show.
Invite them all. Let's go.
I would love to do I would love to do a cast episode with the four of them.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
We're gonna make it happen. Okay, now that I've rambled on and talked a million miles an hour, how are you? What's new? Tell me everything.
Great. Sorry, I'm gonna apologize to everybody because they're like mowing the lawn, some lawn outside, so you might hear.
I want to tell you, I can't hear anything.
Okay, good. So let's hope that's. And my hair is being crazy right now. What is going on right now? Okay.
Jason, you're perfect.
Yeah, something like that. No, but I love that. I wish I would have had the chance to see this play. One of my goals after, when things started getting better after we're still in the pandemic, but after the vaccine, I was like, I want to see more theater. Like I think, not that I took it for granted, but it kind of ties in with what I want to say next was that, theater, because theater is very expensive, so I feel like living in New York before the pandemic, I only got to see a show like, once or twice a year just because it is so expensive. But going forward, I was like, this was such a treat, such a luxury. Like, I want to see more of it. So how can I fit that into whatever I'm budgeting, because I love theater, But our friend Douglas Lyons posted something on Instagram. Maybe it was today. I think I saw it today or yesterday, actually, on about the Tonys and about accessibility. And I want to just read a little bit about his post because I guess, and I'm not trying to throw shade at the Tony Awards because I have no business to be throwing shade at anybody. I'm just an aspiring actor. So I'm not trying to be shady. But I guess they had just released some student rush
for $250
plus a $6 fee.
I saw that too, and I was like, "That's not a student ticket. $250.
$250.
I saw that, and I was like, I didn't even have the headspace to even like have a thought about that. Like, because typically these tickets are thousands of dollars, but so $250. Yes, I get it, but like, don't be like, okay, sorry, this is not my moment.
No. I mean, you were literally
don't be like, oh, discounted tickets for students who are students and already you're building yourself to be in massive amount of debt because you want an education, you want to better yourself, but come to the Tonys for $250, which probably is more money than a student makes in a month. I probably made $250 once a month at the Choices office for the month of work. Facts. The Choices, facts.
Literally.
Okay, take it away. Sorry.
No, but he was just I mean, you literally said everything I wanted to say. Because he said, I'm gonna read a little bit. It's a great post. You should read the whole thing. But he said $250 for a student rush ticket to the Tony Awards. I've been heavily reconsidering my relationship to the Broadway machine. I asked myself, who is being served? Is what's being served accessible and intriguing to the people I write for? Is the box office or critics pick the only way to measure your art? Is Broadway sustainable based on the amount of risk it takes for producers to put things up? And what kind of artistic environment is bred from the pressures of needing to recoup? For the artists on stage and the teams that make magic happen off stage. So he goes in a little bit more about this. And I just wanted to say, like, that's like, I know we tend to ask more of the artists of color this question, but like, how can we make Broadway more accessible, right? We need to figure this out. This is a problem because Broadway can't be just for rich white people. I'm sorry. Like it has to change. And you can like be like, oh, I'm gonna make 6 plays by Black writers or whatever. But like if Black audiences who are like typically aren't the ones buying Broadway tickets, like can't go see it, then what's the point? It can't be just for rich white people. So I just wanted to say that.
Especially when these shows aren't for the shows I guess this is like not a valid point, but like the shows that aren't as popular, right? Like create a block of tickets. If you're not selling, create a block of tickets that, you know, people who don't have $250 to just like throw to the Tonys can go, right? I remember like when Wicked came out, I begged my mom. I'm like, I have to see this play. I have to see this play. It took us months to go because like I grew up in a very middle class family. Like my mom made sure I went to theater. I did whatever, but it wasn't like as a family we could just like go. I want to say, hey mom, I want to go to Wicked, and we could go the next day. Like it was like, okay, let me like figure it out. The tickets were expensive. And the whole family wanted to go. So that's like a $700 day. Not seven, but maybe. Yeah. By the time you get the tickets, by the time you take the train, by the time you go to dinner, by the time you take a cab, by the time you do this, by the time I want a playbill, not a playbill, like a program,
souvenir,
an alphabet doll, and Dr. Dillman's like horns.
And
Those aren't real merch. Those aren't real merch items. I'm just really the coffee set in, and I am like buzzing. Anyway.
No, it's true though. So I just want to bring that up.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, we have to use our platform, and obviously Douglas is using his. But there's someone who's working, you know, in this arena of like this machine to speak on that. I was like, I want to like spread that message a little bit. I mean, on our platform as well, and just let's figure out. And maybe someone's listening out there. Maybe some, you know, future producers listening to this somehow and can think of a way of like how we can make this more accessible to everybody. Cool. So that's what I want to say. I also want to say really quickly that tickets for the Bridgeport Film Fest are on sale this week.
Yes!
Early bird tickets. Get your tickets, y'all. Come see me and Samantha in Bridgeport. If you live in New York City, it's literally an 80-minute train ride. If you live in Boston, it's a 3-hour drive. Like, if you live anywhere else, just come.
Come.
Just come see us. We're going to be on the red carpet. We have like over 50 short films we're screening, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll have more information as it goes on. It's going to be the topic probably every freaking week because it's gearing up
from now until the end of July.
So July 22nd when we open. So when you open, right? When that festival
opening
happens. Opening night, baby. Red carpet. So
That's
please get tickets. Come see us. It'll be lots of fun.
Personally, I cannot wait.
Yeah, you're going to be doing mad stuff. I got to tap you in. You were hosting last year on the red carpet.
We're going.
You were doing Q&As with the filmmakers.
Oh my gosh. I would love to be a moderator.
Yeah, you were so great at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you'll see Samantha doing that again this year. But yeah, let's get into our guest.
Yes, speaking of Connecticut.
Amazing episode, yes.
Speaking of Connecticut. Julie Benko is our guest this week. From Fairfield, Connecticut. Jason's from Bridgeport. I am from Norwalk. They are all like sister towns. So it's always so fun when we have someone from Connecticut on. So we're super excited. She's currently the standby. Well, we'll tell you about it in her bio, but this is a great episode. She's so sweet. And also like an incredible person, so well-rounded and just like mega talented in so many ways and so smart and kind. And we just finished talking to her and I was like, Julie, are you Superwoman? I'm confused. I'm so confused. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Should we do her bio?
Yeah. You want to kick it off?
I'll kick it off. I'm going to be looking this way. So Julie Benko is currently marching her band out on Broadway as a standby for Fanny Bryce in Funny Girl. She's also performed on Broadway and in touring companies of Fiddler on the Roof, Les Mis, and Spring Awakening. Favorite regional and off-Broadway credits include Once, which she won the Wild Award for Best Actress in a Musical, The Fantastics, Our Town, Bar Mitzvah Boy, Rags, The Golem of Havana, Spelling Bee, and more. Her debut album, Introducing Julie Benko, is available wherever music is streaming, and her newest record, Hand in Hand, will be released on Club 44 Records in August.
She won the gold medal in Johnny Mercer Award at the American Traditions Vocal Competition and has performed as a soloist with numerous symphonies. Julie is also a writer. Her first play, The District, was named a semifinalist at the Eugene O'Neill's National Theater Conference. And her first short film received accolades at many film festivals across the nation. Visit her website, www.juliebenko.com, or follow her on social media at JujuJulieB to discover more.
Yes. Love it.
Enjoy this episode, guys. Happy Tony Week.
Julie.
Hi.
Hello, gorgeous.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. It caught me off guard, but how fun. Welcome to Survival Jobs, a podcast.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have you on today. Thank you for being here.
And I do want to say we're all from Connecticut. Shout out to Connecticut. This happens to us a lot. It's sometimes intentional and sometimes not. But I wore a Gilmore Girls shirt today. Does anyone understand? Nobody understands in the group.
Well,
I have.
yeah.
I don't have my keys right now, but they're in the other room. But I have a Luke's Diner keychain that is.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you so much. I love Gilmore Girls. Obsessed. And I was like, oh my God, they're from Connecticut too, just like me.
I know. I was telling people, like, have you seen it? Like, we have a gazebo, like we have a green,
Yeah, I love it. And shout out to Gilmore to Say, our friends podcast. Since we're talking about Gilmore Girls, I just want to give them a quick shout out. Find them. They're cool too. Mm-hmm. Before we start talking about survival jobs, I really want to jump in and talk about Funny Girl. Also, it's Tony Week. Happy Tony Week. You are our Tony Week episode.
Wow.
Yes.
What an honor.
I've seen only some of the Tony nominees because
you're busy.
That I have.
You're pretty busy, so understandable. So I just have a two-part question. What is it like to be on Broadway during Tony Week? Like, what is that energy like? And what is it like being Fanny Brice's standby, working with Jane Lynch, like working with Beanie? Like, it's like crazy. So that was a lot to say. So tell us everything.
Gosh. Okay. So working on Broadway in Tony Week it's super exciting. I mean, I'm actually thinking about, I got to perform on the Tonys when I was in Fiddler. And one of the, it was just really such a highlight of my time at Fiddler that, I was a swing in Fiddler and they don't always include, swings and understudies in Tony performances. And sometimes that's just because they pick a number that is only, 3 people or whatever. But we did a big medley and the wedding dance and stuff. And so I got to be on the Tonys, in the wedding scene. And it just felt, I just think, it's always so wonderful when the covers are included in those kinds of events because, we were part of the company and it just, you don't get to be on stage for opening night, but you get to be, to be on stage for the Tonys was so unforgettable. And I think I have a photo of we were doing some teaser. They did that year it was Hamilton. So they did a big ham for ham thing in between commercial breaks. And so Fiddler did a little thing and there's this screenshot of me next to Danny Burstein, being I can't.
That's so epic.
Yeah, and it's just a big old celebration, obviously, of the theater community and all of that. So yeah, it's just nice to see some wonderful friends and and colleagues celebrated and get to perform. So that's always exciting, And as for being Fanny Brice's standby, I mean, hello, gorgeous.
Snaps.
Yeah, it's a dream. I mean, it's one of those jobs where, I saw that audition come in. I was like, well, I'm not going to get that job. And then, my agent called when I got it, and I was like, are you sure? Are you kidding? I just didn't believe him until I got to rehearsal, and it's I've said, I covered in Fiddler, I covered 8 tracks. I covered 5 tracks in Spring Awakening. I've done a fair amount of covering, and I felt like when I got the script and score for Fanny, I was like, this is more than all of that put together. And so it was a big challenge to go, okay, how can I prepare all of this stuff when that as the cover, you just are not going to get the kind of, you hope to get rehearsal, but you're just gonna have to, it's your job to do it on your own. And so, I was begging various friends, siblings, spouses. I mean, my one spouse, I only have one, but, to be every night, can I buy you dinner? Can you come over and run lines with me? I'm going to move everything out of my living room and do whatever they worked on in rehearsal today over and over so that it's in my body, even though I know it's going to change in previews, but I have to be up to date in case, because you just never know. And
Yeah.
so like my whole process was just I tried to be as proactive as I could about, singing through the score, almost every day, and just so that I knew that physically I at least could have it in my body because, ultimately it is a very body experience. Like you can know it intellectually and then get out there and your body has to know what to do because you're just confronted with so much new sensory information, whether new costumes, new shoes. Obviously, there's an audience for the first time, new people that you're doing it with. And, the first time, I remember the first time, I think I did something with Rumi. It was like the words just flew out of my head, you're like looking into those eyes and you're like,
Yeah.
Can I
love
just
that.
make a little interjection there when you're like, oh, I beg, like asking people to help you. So, when we find our guests, like we look to do our research. I live for the videos on your Instagram of your mom doing lines with you.
Yes.
I love that.
She's a star.
Through all my friends, people are like, I'm busy, leave me alone, and I was like, but my parents were like, we're happy to help anytime. So, we would just Zoom. And then I actually like the first, I don't know, we were doing it and my mom, they were just being so hilarious that I was like, I just have to, this is like gold because I mean, my mom was like born for the camera, really. She's just got this great time.
You're choking the life out of him, just as sure as wrapping your fingers around his neck.
And my dad is a community theater actor. Yeah, he plays Scrooge every Christmas at Fairfield. What is the community theater called in Fairfield?
Fairfield Stage.
Center Stage.
Fairfield Center Stage. Yeah.
He's new, right?
Yeah, it's like a few years old.
Shout out to Christy and Eli.
Yeah, Christy and Eli are
amazing.
Yeah. And they've just, I've gone to see him as Scrooge now a number of times, and they do it in this like immersive way where they like rent out. Sometimes they do it in the old Burr Mansion, and sometimes they do it in this church that's First Church on, and I think that's what it's called. And they like, every room is set up to be like, that's Scrooge's bedroom, and that's Scrooge's, Ghost of Christmas Present takes you into the Cratchit house, and they're eating a real chicken, and you smell the chicken. It's like Sleep No More.
So immersive.
Yeah, that's fun. I want to go.
Yeah. So my dad is president and treasurer of that community theater, and he also plays Scrooge every year. And I think right now he's in SpongeBob. He's playing the narrator in SpongeBob. So, he keeps busy. So he's like a thespian. So when I was like, they're always happy to help. But when I called, I was like, Dad, can you help me with my lines? Because, he acts. So I was like, he always knows he's good about helping with memorization. And so then he was like, okay. So he sits down, he has the script, and then my mom shows up and she's like just sitting there. And he was like, he's like, she asked me for help. And she was like, I can sit here. I'm just sitting here. And then before we know it, she's like, can I do Mrs. Bryce? And we're like, okay, fine. And then before you know it, she's like, can I play Emma? And then before you know it, she's like starts doing my lines. Like,
oh my gosh, she's like, move over.
Yeah,
you understudy and understudy and
exactly. Yeah, and she's correcting me. My dad is like, I'm going to correct her. She asked me for help. So it's just the two of them are this hilarious comedic duo.
I love that so much. Julie, it's so funny because I was telling you that we did FTT together a very long time ago, back when we were young spring chickens. But I also did Laramie Project with your dad too, so I've worked with both of you.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Jason.
I missed Laramie Project. I think I was away or something.
Oh, I mean, he was great. It was a great production, and your dad was amazing. He's such a kind and very talented human being, just like you.
Oh, thanks. So, can you remind me? Were you on the? I'm trying to remember your role in Jekyll and Hyde. Were you?
I was the Bishop of Basingstoke. And I died at the end of Act 1, and I remember the opening night. I died at the end of Act 1, and then they turned the lights on right away. They went to black, and then they turned the lights on before I could get off the stage.
And you were still dead.
So I had to like awkwardly get up and walk off the stage in front of the whole audience.
Nothing to see here, folks.
Oh my God, that's so good, Jay.
So awkward. Oh man. but good to laugh at, to 10, 15 years later.
Oh my God. I loved doing that show. I had so much fun.
You were fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thanks.
Oh, so let's get into Survival Jobs, the podcast officially. Um, I guess my question for you is, can you share an experience from a previous survival job that was positive that maybe impacted where you are today?
Yeah. So I've had a few over the years, but I would say the most regular one that I kept coming back to is I do a lot
Mm-hmm.
of, and I still do, is SAT tutoring, or many kinds of tutoring, but I think it's
Yeah.
mostly been SATs, ACTs, and then there's like SSATs and ISEEs, which is
Oh
for
my
like private
gosh.
high school, that the upper, like the Manhattan Knights who are going to like private school, they do that. And but then I also tutor Spanish, which is like my favorite
Oh.
thing to tutor. Is my mom is a Spanish teacher at the high school that I went to, and um, we have a big family in Argentina, and I just always loved Spanish. Like I studied it a lot and did a study abroad program in Spain in college, and
That's
so
amazing.
I love speaking Spanish. So my favorite thing to tutor is Spanish. But then sometimes like a kid will be like, "What's the exact rule on the you know pluscuamperfecto?" And I'm like, I know it, but then I'm like, "Hey mom, like send me your PowerPoints on pluscuamperfecto," and I'm like
Send me
learning
your
about
PowerPoints.
and yeah, so I've done a lot of tutoring. I've done it privately. I've done it for different various companies. In New York City and Westchester.
Mm,
And I started doing that right out of undergrad, uh, and then literally I did it all through. I've done it all throughout all of my Broadway shows. I was still
yeah.
doing it literally a month ago because I was trying to stop once Funny Girl happened, and then one of my students who I'd been with for a long time, and I really love her. She's great. She was like, "I want to take the SAT one more time. Like, can we do a few more?" And
Oh,
I was like, "Okay." So I would be like at understudy rehearsal for Fanny, and then I'd be like running home to be like, "Okay, like let's go over our special triangles again. Um,
Oh my God,
that's
that's
so
so
sweet,
good.
though.
yeah, so I still do it, and I think it's been for me that was uh it's just really a nice job just because it's very flexible, and if you normally auditions are in the daytime. I mean, back when people auditioned live,
Yeah.
but normally the days would be free, so that's when the kids are in school. So you're in the evenings, you're tutoring. On the weekends you're tutoring, and then if something comes up and you have to switch something around, people are usually like fine with rescheduling,
Yeah,
and it's
flexible.
not so you don't have like a shift that is a little trickier to cover for 8 hours or something. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's very flexible, and I liked working. I just really like working one-on-one with students, and it was also easy. I was doing on Skype or FaceTime before the
Yeah.
pandemic, even sometimes, because one-on-one tutoring I think works a lot better than remote school where you have like many
Mm,
people. So yeah, I mean, I always felt like it was really helpful to sort of use a different part of my brain than I was using, in acting. And it's just logical, and you're sort of puzzle solving, and I do think in a way that's kind of applicable to creativity, where you're sort of like looking at things, okay, how can I solve this puzzle.
for sure.
And especially that but I don't know if I can say that it really changed me as an actor, except that um, I don't know, when I get an acting job, I'm like, well, this is fun.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't have to talk about triangles today.
Yeah, exactly. Get a break from or the dangling modifier talk.
Yeah.
Yes.
The errant comma discussion.
That's
That's
so good.
hilarious.
I think it's so important for our listeners and for everyone to hear that, like, you're still tutoring while you're on Broadway, because that's, ultimately the life that we live.
It's a gig
Sometimes
and
you have to.
yeah, it's a gigging lifestyle, and you're in a show, and then you always you have to wonder, okay, well, what's my next show, and how long does it last? I don't know. Nobody knows. I mean, if you're in Hamilton or Wicked,
yeah, you're fine. You're good.
Or Phantom, 35 years.
But I think there's always just the sense of like, well, even those people sometimes they sort of reach a point where they've been in a show for a while and they're like, I want something new. And they just want to change it up, and so they don't re-sign a contract and they leave, and then you go, okay, well, I do, for me, feel just better having, some people do fine with like nothing scheduled, but I just think it's always helpful for me to have something on my schedule just to keep me, I have someplace to be and somewhere to go. So otherwise I'll just sort of, I don't know. I like a little bit of structure to my days.
Structure, exactly.
Yeah, for sure, especially after the pandemic of like kind of no structure. It's nice to like always know you have something going on. Okay, so do you have a survival job that was not so good that you have like a shocking story from, or you're like, I will never ever clean that bathroom again? Clean that bathroom. That's just the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, no, I was a hostess in a restaurant for a little while right after college graduation, and it wasn't great. It was. You
can say it. It was the worst.
It wasn't the worst. Like, it could have been worse, but you're really not you're making like minimum wage or maybe slightly above, right? And you're not getting tipped as the hostess, and I remember like part of our job was like you had to carry, people weren't allowed to be seated unless they were full parties, which, by the way, is one of my least favorite things at restaurants. I'm like, I will order an appetizer while I wait. Just please let me sit down. But so they would, we would have to make people wait at the bar, or if their table wasn't ready, and they would order from the bar, and then it was our job to bring all of their cocktails over to as we led them to their table. And I have like the worst balance and just general motor skills.
No.
Like, I'm really not. You should not hand me a tray of glasses. And I just remember this one time where there was like a party of like 10 people and they all had champagne flutes. And so I was stacking like 10 champagne flutes on this tray, and I was trying to, hold it down with as many fingers as I could, but I tripped, or I sort of lost the balance. And because champagne flutes are hard, they're like tall and thin,
skinny, yeah.
And I knocked the whole tray on this lady. Like, her beautiful like coat was like covered in champagne.
Oh, no.
And like the restaurant like paid for it to get cleaned, and I mean I was so apologetic. It was so mortifying, and I just was like, if my job was just to like take people to their seats, it would have been one thing, but that was too much for me. I really have a lot of respect for all of these servers, right, who have like carry all these. I don't know how they do it. I guess maybe I would have gotten used to it if I did it longer, but I was bad at that, and they weren't happy with me. But there was, there were like 3 hostesses working on any dinner shift there, and it was like a kind of a hoity-toity place, and they were just so like, you're not allowed to be in charge of anything. Like, I couldn't choose where to seat anyone. They were like, that was the maitre d's job, and so they just sort of treated you like, like you were kind of an idiot, and I just, I wouldn't want to treat anybody that way, and they were just like, no, you don't know enough, like and I was like, to figure out like what section they should sit in. Like, I know how many servers are and what they're, how to keep things fair, and they wouldn't let me do that. And I just remember they handed out we would hand out like muffins at whenever people left, like to all the ladies. Like there would be like a different muffin every month, and it would be like,
where's that? I want to go.
I know. I love
on my way
muffins.
out.
I'd be like, excuse me, ma'am, like, would you like a muffin? And half the time they took, half the time they didn't. But I ate so many of those muffins, like, over the time I worked there. Because, like, they didn't, they didn't feed us really. So, that was the other thing. God. People would come in and they'd be like, what do you recommend on the menu? Like, do you recommend this something with, something fancy on it, or this something with something else fancy on it? And I'd be like, I had never tasted any of it because they wouldn't feed that to me. They wouldn't waste that on me. So I was like, oh, I would just be like, definitely the swordfish. I don't know.
I hate when restaurants do that. Like that like bothers me so much when they don't feed their staff. I'm like, how can you just not feed people who are hungry, who are working minimum wage? Like,
yeah,
it's baffling to me. It's literally, it literally makes me so angry. I'm like, come on, these people. Because we were servers as well, me and Samantha, and I was a host too, so I get your pain.
Oh yeah, Jason started as a host.
Hated it. I'll never go back. But I just like, I don't know, take care of your staff. Like it doesn't cost that much money to feed.
I was just gonna say the food people. Costs are not like super high, right. Especially if you're like not in a like fine dining restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, I also did that when I dropped a whole tray on a woman once as well. So you are not alone. But like red wine martinis, like a spread of drinks.
How
well, taste
horrifying.
Test. Yeah, I mean, I really don't. I don't understand. It's a skill. It's like a real skill.
It's a rite of passage to drop some drinks.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Except for I told the woman, I was like, we'll pay for the dry cleaning. And then the general manager was like, we don't do that.
They don't do that?
It was we worked at a music venue. It was called the Highline Ballroom. Oh. So it was like trash. Sorry. But it was.
No lies. Anyway,
and on to the next.
Yeah. You want to take the next one, Sam?
Oh, I'm sorry. I fell asleep.
It's all
right. So I'm not paying attention to the Word doc, Jason.
It's okay.
I'm going to just do this, put you in center stage. So you are a Jewish woman.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it feel to be able to portray Jewish women? And I know you've done it a few times, like in Fiddler and now being Fanny. Is that important to you? Do you enjoy doing those roles more? Is it like more special to you? Can you relate more? What does it feel like? Tell us everything.
Well, I think, it's such an important conversation that we're having in casting now for all kinds of, representation. So it's nice to be able to play roles of Jewish women, especially a real Jewish woman. I mean, I think that every project is sort of different in terms of like what is necessary for the for the casting. But I think particularly, I mean, Fiddler on the Roof was like so moving and meaningful to me because I think, I don't really remember a time when I didn't know that score. I think I learned it in utero. Like it's part of the Jewish experience.
Yeah.
A Jewish American experience. Fiddler on the Roof is so meaningful.
For sure.
To the community. So I think when people knew that I was doing Fiddler, it was just, and my family, like it was just such a huge, it just felt like so important to be part of that legacy. And also it was the show that really got me into theater. I did Fiddler on the Roof at the JCC in Bridgeport. And it was like
Bridgeport.
First part, really. I was Huddle, and my dad was Reb Morka, the innkeeper, and my mom was a villager. My sister was a little Bielka, and like I just went to the audition, and they came with me to drive me, and then somehow we all ended up in the show.
That's
my dad,
so sweet.
and he got the bug from that, and I got the bug from that, and really all that show started it all. So I think the fact that like Fiddler, which means so much to the Jewish community, and I mean it's so universal, it means a lot to lots of people, but that was really, really special. And, you know, to have my grandma come and be able to see me go on for, I forget if it was Hava or Huddle, but like that just was so meaningful. And I know, you know, she passed away since, you know, before Funny Girl happened. And when the first thing when I told my mom that I got cast was like, you know, grandma would be so proud, you know, and
She would.
so that is so
That's so
meaningful.
sweet.
It's
Yeah.
just so meaningful. And I love now being a part of this legacy of Jewish women. And I think there's something very unique with Fanny, and having done a lot of research into, you know, who the real Fanny Brice was, instead of sort of trying to base things on Barbara, who was obviously iconic. But, you know, I think Fanny had a very Jewish, she was a Jewish comedian. That was her thing, you know? And so to be able to sort of tap into that old world Borscht Belt kind of humor and do a lot of that research and dig into her history. I mean, Fanny's family is Hungarian Jews. My great grandfather, the Benko one, it was a Hungarian Jew. So like,
Wow.
it's totally possible that she was my cousin, you know? And
Yeah.
Oh my God. You never, yeah.
It's really cool to get to be the one to tell that story and feel like, you know, when you're doing role, you know, some of the very, there's just a very, she speaks Yiddish on stage, you know, she's like, you know, she's got a lot of, there's just a lot of uniquely Jewish qualities like that. It's nice to be able to bring those out and feel like I know that history because that's who my family is. But, you know, I also am very happy to play roles that are not Jewish. So, you know, I also would be totally thrilled to play a role where you know, a Jewish identity is not the main point. You know? And,
Right.
You just want to play a woman, you know?
Yeah. But how special that you get to, you know, have these experiences that relate so much to your family, and that your family can come and like relate and like, oh my God, like we did Fiddler here and now you're doing Fiddler on Broadway.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing.
That's the chills.
I have this photo of my family like when I was 14, you know, and it's like, it's our holiday card and it's like season's greetings from Anna Tevka, and we're like all in, we're all wearing the, you know, schmatas. And
I love that.
So good.
Yeah.
I want to see that picture. Post it on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's somewhere. I've got it. It's floating around.
I do just want to make a little sidebar and let everyone know that I was Golda in high school. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Can we get a preview?
You know what? There's like no video of it, unfortunately.
Oh man,
I was bad, really bad. I was really bad.
At least you didn't die and then have to walk off the stage and during intermission.
That's right. That's in heaven. That is a fact.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Well, Julie, I want to transition a little bit into your music and your short film. So you're a creator in other ways, and I love that about people, and especially like you, who can not just like be holding waiting for an opportunity from other people. Like you take your career into your own hands. So do you want to share a little bit about making your debut album, and then we can transition to like your film as well?
Sure. Well,
if you have time, I don't want to like take up too much time.
So I think, you know, in this world, and especially in the pandemic, obviously, you know, it was like we had time to make things. And,
a little bit, right?
But no, I think nowadays, you know, the gatekeeping is it's different, right? And so you don't need a studio executive to come say, I want to produce your album. Like you can self-produce. And the first time, you know, my first album, 2017, I really didn't know where to begin, but my now spouse, Jason, was like,
what a good name.
I know.
Shout out to Jason.
All Jasons are the best.
Well.
You know, it means healer. It means,
yeah.
I'm sure you know that.
I didn't. I love that.
Healer. And I think that's very apt for Jason. He's very much a healer. But
love that.
He has, you know, he's a jazz musician. And he teaches at Berklee College of Music. Like he's very good. But he was like, you know, I can help you I hadn't gone through the process before, but so, he was my music director, and we put together all these arrangements and put out this album. He walked me through the process. It's complicated, but it's doable. And I learned a lot. And then now, actually, so then during the pandemic, like, we were stuck at home, with basically each other as our sole collaborators. And so we started doing this series, like, just from our living room, called Quarantunes, and we would just have concerts like once a week, and we would stream them on Facebook. We were very low tech, like, we did not have a cool good setup at all, but people would tune in, and we would pick like a different charity every week, and we would play for tips, and we would donate half our tips to a charity of the week or whatever. And we developed some sort of duo arrangements in that time. And, in the beginning, we were really excited. We practiced a lot. And then by the end of it, we did it for like a year. And by the end of the year, we were like, well, we got Quarantunes. Like, guess we'll just see what requests come in, and then things got too busy and we had to stop. But in that time, we developed these arrangements. And then, we were like, Jason had said, I think we should make a duo album. And that was popping around, sort of popping around in our ether. And then we ended up deciding to do it because it was the pandemic and we had the time. So we ended up going, we went into the studio in fall of 2021, and we recorded all these songs. And then, we also we're like, oh, well, even though it's just duo, like, he plays piano, I sing, but because we're in the studio, we can do sort of enhanced duo. So Jason played a bunch of different keyboards, layering things over. He played percussion. I played the flute and the clarinet on a couple of tunes. Like, I did some background vocals. Like, we were able to sort of do sort of enhanced duo record of some of these songs. And that album is coming out August 26th.
Yes.
Which it's called Hand in Hand, which is I know. And it's got like a picture of us on the front that's like based on a picture from our wedding. It's like really like cool, like make
I know that.
I love that.
And so that's coming out August 26th, and then we're gonna do our big Birdland CD release concert on August 29th. Is a Monday. Since it's my night out from the show, and we're gonna actually have like a fuller band since we can't actually play all the instruments at once
and do the background vocals while you're doing the vocals. I don't think that's possible.
Oh my god!
That's really exciting. Like, we're gonna come out at the end of August, so it's like the summer's kind of about that, and
that's so exciting.
Yeah, so it's been really gratifying to like work on that project. And then, like you mentioned on the, I wrote this short film, which has been on all these film festivals, and I wrote a play, and that play, I wrote this play over the pandemic, and that play was named a semifinalist at the Eugene O'Neill National Playwrights Conference this year.
Yes, girl.
I feel like it's important for me to say that, like, before grad school, basically, I was except for the album, which I think because I had Jason's guidance, I felt a little more confident. But when it came to writing, I was like, well, I don't, I tried.
How do you navigate this new thing?
I tried, and it was too hard, and I couldn't come up with anything. So what do I have to say? And there's so many people out there who are saying things so much more important, so much better than I could ever say, and I don't have anything new to add. And all of this, the normal stuff that I think people think when they try to write, and then they don't.
Yeah. Those vampires in your head, like this, like kind of suck out the confidence in you.
Yeah, and I think I would also sit down and be like, I'm gonna try and write a draft of something, and then like I wouldn't be able to do that because I can't do that. I can't just sit down and pump out. Some people can just pump out a whole, script in like 2 days, and they sort of go into a weird manic phase and they turn out a first draft, and it's like, but I learned I don't work that way. And so, in grad school, there was a lot of emphasis in my grad program on making your own work, not just being an actor, but being able to produce a web series or a play or whatever it is that you should trust your voice and put your voice out there. And if it's, if nothing else, even if it's not for public consumption, it helps you as an actor to become just more creative and, you know, a better collaborator, see things from different perspectives. So you're more useful in the room. And so I started doing in grad school, I started this practice of like 10 minutes a day. I would write over coffee. And if nothing came that day, that was okay. But I thought about it for 10 minutes a day, whatever that project was. And then that was sort of a meditative like morning ritual. Sometimes it lasted an hour or 2 hours, and sometimes it lasted 10 minutes, and I didn't get very far. But I knew that like I always knew like tomorrow is there. So if I don't come up with anything today, there's tomorrow, you know, but you have to show up and be patient, and it takes patience. And I just learned I'm like a really slow writer, you know, it takes me a while.
Same. You are not alone.
Yeah.
But can we watch the Newlyweds Guide to Physical Intimacy anywhere yet, or is it still in the festival circuit?
It's gonna be in a festival in the fall in I think Boulder. And then after that, I think it's like the Jewish Boulder Film Festival or something. And then after that, I think I'll probably it'll be public online, but I'm not submitting it anymore to festivals. I think now it's sort of gone through the circuit, and but it's about two it's based on a real book that I found. So I've done some work, some of my tutoring, you know, I do as volunteer, which I volunteer with this organization called Footsteps, which is it's a social services organization down in the financial district, and they provide services to people who are trying to leave the ultra orthodox community, or are just starting to take steps into seeing if that's something they want to consider. And it's the only organization of its kind, you know, period. And it's, you know, for people who don't know, like the Hasidic community, the ultra orthodox Jewish community, you know, a lot of the people who grow up in this community don't get a basic secular education. So, you know, Yiddish is their first language. They might speak English okay, but they don't usually, like a lot of the people that I've worked with are working at, you know, they're adults and they're working at a math level of like second grade, third grade. You know, basic multiplication is not happening. So, you know, it's something that I think needs a lot more attention than it gets, you know.
For sure,
But I've developed a lot of lovely relationships with some of my, you know, students there, and I think it's a great organization. If anybody wants to check it out, I think they're always looking for more volunteers, or for money. They'll always look for money to support their staff, and they do a lot of amazing work. And while I was working on this short film, which was for a class in my grad program, I was like, I knew I wanted to do something about that, and I was about that community, and I was searching just for ideas. And then I found, you know, in that community, like if you saw Unorthodox, that Netflix show, you know, they sort of go into how the wedding night, like a lot of people don't know what to expect. They're not taught the basic birds and the bees, you know, that's sex education. It's completely, it's just not
removed. Not taught.
It's not taught. And it's really a major issue. So there's this, I found this book that was co-written by a sex therapist and a rabbi. And it's written for people in the community to basically learn the basics of sexuality and how where babies come from and what's normal and it's okay to like ask questions. And, you know, a lot of people, they get married and they just don't even know the basics. So it's truly in this book, which is called The Newlyweds Guide to Physical Intimacy, there's like a little folder in the back where everything is just written in words in the book. But in the back, there are these like diagrams that are in this folder that are marked like that. Like you don't need to open this, because some people would find it, I think, too shocking. But they're literally just sketches. Like it's nothing like pornographic,
provocative.
Right?
Yeah, I was gonna be like nothing like too.
This is literally like what you have in your body, and this is what it happened, you know. And they're like doodles, but they're like locked. They're in this like little folder at the back that you can choose to open and look at if you're ready or not. And I just thought, like, I was so inspired and so by that book, because I just thought, wow, like the fact that there are people, in this community who see this as an issue and they're really trying to tackle it in like a really responsible way to help people just enjoy their lives more, and it doesn't mean they have to leave the community or they don't have to feel like they're doing anything shameful, but it's such a taboo topic that I was just like, this is so amazing, so I wrote to the authors and I asked permission to use it in the film, and they gave me their blessing. And then one of the writers was like, can I have this to share, with my community? And then he sent it to this woman who runs a mikvah, which is a ritual bath. It's like a ritual purifying bath house kind of thing that this woman who runs a mikvah in Jerusalem, she was like, can I use this to train young brides to be? Like, it was like this, people were asking, so that was definitely more exciting than even the film festival stuff, where you're like, people think this could be useful.
Yeah, that's the power of art, right? You're really like making a difference, through your art. That's wow, that's really amazing.
Isn't that like what it's all for? Like ultimately, right?
Yeah.
Like to make a difference in somebody's life.
Yeah.
Especially coming from your I'm sorry, Sam.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, from your experience, right? Because we're always talking about like, diversity and inclusion, but like in some, like, your voice matters, your perspective matters. And this is why it's the perfect example why, bringing that part of your culture and your identity to the work that you create, your art. It's really, I think it's amazing.
Well, it's interesting too, because I obviously don't come from that world of like very religious, observant, Jewish community, but so in a way I'm also like not in it, and I'm an observer too, and so I have to be super careful about, I don't want to exoticize this group, or but I think after now having known and worked pretty closely with a number of people, like I think that I at least am somewhat in a position to go, okay, we have enough of a shared history, and I feel like I'm trying to tell like a true human story that shows, that doesn't paint a whole group of people as one way or another.
Exactly.
Right. I was going to say before, in conclusion, Julie is a star in so many ways. You're like, I am on Broadway, and then I also still tutor, and then I do this and this. Like, you're Superwoman. Let's just name this episode Superwoman in real life, in the flesh. You're amazing. It's so, I love this show because we meet so many artists and so many people, and know like surface about them, and obviously do our research before we come into an interview. But I'm always blown away and in awe of artists and humans. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Thanks.
And congratulations for just killing everything. Killing the game, killing it, and keep it going, keep creating.
Please,
Yeah. Congrats. So we have one more question, and then we're going to play a super quick fun game.
Oh, good.
I always like to bring... Oh, good. Good. This one's fun. I had fun with this one. We'd like to bring it back to survival jobs at the end of the episode sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to go back to your least favorite survival job, which from what you said is hosting at that restaurant, that muffin restaurant, spilling champagne on people. If you had to go back to that job for the next 10 years to then come out of that job and have your ultimate perfect artistic life, whatever that looks like for you, whether you're like on Broadway, winning Tony Awards, making a million movies, making a million albums, and just have the bliss perfect life as an artist, would you do it? 10 years is a long time.
It's a long time. I think I'm going to say no. Because I also think that perfect life is not a real thing. And,
That's right.
in my experience, anytime you get somewhere, you're still feeling like you haven't gotten there and you still feel like you're worried about the next. And so
Mhm.
I think I have a hard time imagining just going, yeah, like I made it, that I would ever have that feeling. I mean, and I think I think that idea is not a real. It's just I just don't think it's a real thing. And I also think like what they say, like it's in the journey, like the whole thing is in the journey. But it's true. Like
Yes.
I wouldn't want to waste 10 years feeling like so at a place that made me feel really bad about myself,
Yeah.
when
Facts.
I know that I could do a different survival job or that could support parts of my life that I enjoy, because there's so many parts of my life that I enjoy that have nothing to do with being, an actor or a performer or a musician even, like I think that no, I would rather just keep going, doing a variety of different things, keeping it interesting, keeping
For
it
sure.
challenging. I guess that's my answer. I don't think.
I love that
Yeah.
answer.
I love that
Because
answer
that's
too.
life, so well-rounded and being able to like tap into many different things. I have to do a quick sidebar. Do you guys watch Hacks?
I haven't.
I did.
So, you know how they say she has big hands? What's her name? I can't. I'm blanking. The actress Jean Smart keeps telling Hannah, that's their real names. I don't know that her hands are so big. And I'm doing this interview and I'm watching my hands. I'm like, oh my God, I also have giant hands. I'm like doing things.
They look like normal size hands.
You
This
have
is a
normal
giant hand.
size hands. I have a giant hand, and I never realized. And I'm like talking in this interview, and I'm looking at my hands. I'm like, oh wow, I have a giant hand.
I just
Oh,
compare
Sam.
Just like Hacks.
I'm now
Jason,
like
you have to
holding
watch
my
Hacks.
hand up to my face, like, how big is my hand compared to
Oh my God, look at my whole face.
I'm so dead.
This giant hand.
You should take up like the piano or something. If you got nice big hands,
Yeah.
you can
I
reach
did.
all
I
those
used
keys.
I used to do music theory, and then I was like, I gotta get out of here. This is not working. It's not working for my brain capacity.
Excuse me.
I hear you. I am married to a jazz musician, and he's always like, "Oh man, listen to that major 7 sharp 5/11
5/11.
chord." I'm like, "Bleh."
You're like, sounds great, babe.
Yeah. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love that major 7.
Sometimes you go out
That
like
5/11.
we go out to like jazz clubs and we hear like like these guys are playing and they do something and like all the jazz musicians around me, they go like ooh oh ooh, and I'm like, and they laugh, they're like ha ha ha, and I'm like, I don't get it.
You're like, ha ha ha.
You're like, yeah, that was so funny.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
so
this is so
good.
cool. Oh my gosh, you're like living La La Land, but with a happy ending.
I hope so.
Oh my God, you are living La La Land.
With a happy
That's
ending,
something-
though.
But
we
with a
watched,
very
when we
happy
watched
ending.
La La Land, we were like, have they been? Could
Yeah.
we sue? Like,
You're like, excuse me, this is actually
Cut
our
the
life.
check.
Thank you
Hit
so
the
much.
royalty check.
Yeah, so good.
Can I ask one more question? I know, Sam, I'm going out of order. I changed something, but
You know
I have-
what?
really quickly, I want to ask, because you are the understudy for
Mhm.
Fanny, and there's been like a lot of chat about the Tony Awards and like, giving recognition to all these people like you who've been filling in on all these shows, especially this past year or so, right, during COVID. Do you like have any thoughts or did you want to share about that kind of talk that's been going around? Or do you have, I don't put you on the spot, obviously, but
Yeah, I mean, look, I have no sway.
yeah, of course, yeah.
I think I certainly think that celebrating swings and standbys and understudies and all the covers, alternates, everybody, I think that would certainly be a very classy thing to do,
Yeah.
because I think they covers have shown that they've kept Broadway running, and
Literally.
I've seen in some shows where they go, there's they call in somebody who was understudying years ago, and they come in and they're doing a split track, and they're surrounded by people they don't even know because they haven't even been in the show, and they had 30 minutes of rehearsal to just check out the deck, and they're wearing costumes that don't quite fit, and and they're trying to keep everybody safe. I mean, I think that's the other thing when you're a swing, you're like the first time on, or if it's been a while, like your primary objective is, okay, how do I stay in this formation or run through this crowd of revolutionaries or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But like without hitting somebody in the head with a prop or
flag, yeah.
getting hit myself, or I mean, you're trying to keep everybody safe, and you're also trying to do a good performance. So, but I think first and foremost for everybody is keep everybody safe. In the performance comes second, right? And so they're doing the job. I mean, and the way that swings think, where everybody's got their own system, but sometimes you cover 13 tracks, and then you're doing a split track of 3 people, and you're and all the covers are in, and the second cover who had no rehearsal and no costumes is on. And I just think any chance to celebrate that, and after this year, the way covers stepped in, I just think would be great.
Yeah, like you said, y'all were the bedrock to this year. They could not have done this without every single person filling those roles in, because it's been such a tumultuous year.
Yeah. I mean, these, luckily, like Funny Girl hasn't had to cancel anything, which has been.
Oh wow.
We have a great testing system, I have to say.
Great.
They PCR test us 6 days a week, so it's it's like intense. So it feels very safe at work. I think. But some shows, it gets in there and then it gets around to everybody, and they've had to cancel shows. You don't want to have to do that, and the covers are who you rely on to keep that show from closing, and until all the
girl, shout out to you.
So.
Shout out to you, yeah.
Yeah, because it seems like you've been going on a ton.
Since we opened, I've gotten to go on a bit, and it's been just a dream come true. Obviously, I mean, it's so much fun, and it's a lot of there's fear and there's fun. There's fun things.
I love that, fear and fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Whenever I call it, and now I'm starting to call it like, oh, the fanny tummy is here. It's like my nervous tummy starts. I'm like, I don't think I can eat that. Don't know if I can handle it. In my little tub, little nervous tummy going.
The fanny tummy.
You got this. Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats on literally everything.
Thank you.
Like, that's a long list to congratulate you for. So you're a rock star.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing space with us and coming and chatting and being vulnerable and telling us stories. It's been amazing.
Well, thanks for having me. It's
of
so
course.
nice to hang out with Connecticut theater.
We love, what's so crazy is like in the little community, not little, giant artist community in New York, the people we've gotten on so far in season 2, we've had so many people from Connecticut.
Who else from Connecticut?
Chris Cafaro, he was in Inventing Anna.
Yeah,
He also
Lady.
from Dear Evan Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe that's just it. I'm like, so many.
Oh, Chris
Manuel. He's in the Pretty Woman tour.
Hey, we're a small state, so to have more people,
yeah,
nutmeg state,
Yeah, the nutmeg state.
The nutmeg state.
So
that's
good.
Hilarious.
Yeah, but before you go, we would like to play a quick game. We always like to end the episodes with a game. And since it is Tony week and you are our Tony episode, we thought we'd play a silly, fun version of Would You Rather Tony edition. Okay. It's going to be really silly and fun.
Okay. First one. Would you rather perform at the Tony Awards and not remember the dance moves, or split your pants while on stage?
Oh, split my pants.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather wear a jean jacket to the Tony Awards like Frances McDermott, or get called out by the host for using the bathroom during the show like Bryan Cranston did by James Corden?
I would rather, I guess, get called out for using the bathroom. But like, I probably would have to use it. I have a very small bladder.
Yeah.
Would you rather would you rather perform on the Tonys 5 times as a leading lady or win a Tony Award once? That's hard.
Oh boy. I think
Hard,
I would
right?
rather perform 5 times. Yeah. I mean, because then that means you're doing 5 shows. Like,
Yeah.
look how great your career is going.
Yeah, as the lead. Yeah.
Right.
I would do
Right.
that.
I love that. Would you rather go to the Tony Awards after parties and end up at the Carlisle at 4 a.m. or go home after and go to bed?
Go on. For sure. 1,000%.
Perfect.
Would you rather be oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, would you rather be drunk at the Tony after party and say something embarrassing to Joe Mantello or Bernie Tesley?
Oh.
Kelsey, sorry, I can't read.
That's like
I don't know. I feel like, that's a hard one.
that's a hard one, right?
Who would I rather embarrass myself in front of? Maybe Joe
Neither.
Mantello. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like both of them have probably seen their fair share of embarrassing things.
That question is in there because I did it at the Carlisle to Joe Mantello.
What
Drunk.
did you do?
An idiot? I don't know. It's just like, Joe. Like I had talked to him. My friend Robin was in Boys in the Band at the time, and so I like met him a few times, and I was just at the Carlisle at 2 a.m. after the Tonys, and was like, oh my God, Joe, listen to what I like observed from the play. Like he doesn't care about me or what I want to say, so that's why I was like, that's an interesting question.
But at least if it was like 4 a.m. at the Carlisle, like probably he doesn't remember.
Yeah.
He listens to this now and he's like, oh, that crazy girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, it was Samantha. Yeah, no, I'll come back.
I'm so dead.
Yeah, Samantha from Survival Jobs. Just kidding. Okay, would
Canceled.
you rather? Yeah, canceled. Always canceled. Would you rather? This is a dumb one. Sorry. Lose a Tony Award to Bernadette Peters or to Audra McDonald?
Oh my God. I mean, I'd be cool with either one.
Yeah.
Really.
Right. You're like to even like be in their presence.
Even
You're like
to be nominated alongside Bernadette Peters and Audra McDonald, like, please don't give me that Tony Award.
right.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Skip.
You know what? I'm gonna say Audra. I'd rather lose to Audra. I'm gonna say that.
You know what?
Yes.
I love it.
You know, she's
Audra McDonald.
Audra McDonald. And
Yeah.
also, I met her. I've never met Bernadette, and I met Audra, and she was super nice. And so I pick her for that reason because she was super nice. I was working on Les Mis with Will Swenson, and he was like, "You should meet Audra sometime." And I was like,
Okay.
And he was like, "Yeah, she's really nice." I was like, "Are you? No, she's nice." Like they're like married. He's like, "Yeah, she's nice." Okay. So I got to meet her backstage at Les Mis, and I was like,
Oh, I love that.
You're
I love
like,
that for you.
hello.
You're like basking in her glow, like,
But I
oh.
love her too. So I don't know shade. I think it's just
Two queens.
Literally.
Literally.
Okay. We have 3 more. We'll go really quick. Would you rather trip up the stairs when accepting your Tony Award or cry so hard that you never say anything up there?
I'd rather trip up the stairs like Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
Exactly. Also a queen. Okay, would you rather arrive at the Tony Awards on a year you're nominated with 20 of your closest friends and family on a pop-in party bus or quietly in an Uber with your +1?
Oh, I go with my friends and family.
How fun.
How fun. My mom would be really hard for it. My mom would have such a blast.
She'd
Like,
be
how
checking the
fun
guest
to just,
list.
have like a big bus and also like view it from the bus. Like make your own little viewing party.
Yeah, I think that would be really fun.
Yeah,
That is really fun. Okay, last one. Would you rather accidentally announce the wrong winner when presenting a Tony Award or present a Tony Award to your mortal enemy? Well, that's a good one, Samantha.
That is a good one.
Thank you.
Adele Dazeem.
I guess I'd rather. Ooh. I guess I'd rather mispronounce the word.
Yeah.
or like present. Also, I was thinking like presenting like La La Land and and instead of Moonlight, you know.
I mean, gosh, I feel like answering that makes me like reveal that I'm a terrible person. So I'm like, no,
no, I think.
By the way, not a terrible person. There's terrible people.
They're not working to make the enemy like my. My enemy. It's not working.
You're not a terrible person. There's other terrible people in the world that make themselves our enemies. Thank you.
Facts. Hashtag facts.
I loved that game. That was fun.
It was fun. That was a great one, Samantha. That was awesome, Samantha. That was amazing.
Stop gassing me up. Stop gassing me up, Jay.
Well, now we got to gas up Julie one more time. Can you tell everybody where to find you on social media, where to find your work? Yes, tell us all the good things.
Great. You can go to my website, juliebenko.com. There's always like, updates there about, my concerts, my CDs coming out. I think pre-orders for the CD will start in the next maybe few weeks, but I don't have that link yet. And I'm at JujuJulieB, so it's JujuJuliebe. So it's like the Jujubee candy.
Oh yeah,
so I'm that on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok now. This is a new thing for me. I've gotten kind of obsessed with the TikTok.
Your TikToks are great, and we need a lesson actually, if you don't mind.
Really?
Can you be a TikTok consultant?
We need to get on.
Every time I'm on there, I'm like, this 12-year-old has so much more like knowledge and skill with this app than I do. I'm like, I'll just film me for 3 seconds, being like, hey guys. But it's my new sort of obsession is the TikTok. So
I love it.
But yeah, you can find me there, and in the meantime, I'll be at the August Wilson Theater if you find me in person at the August Wilson.
Yes, amazing.
I love that. Jason, you want to drop ours?
Yes, you can follow our show, Survival Jobs, a podcast, on Instagram and Twitter at Survival Jobs Pod, and on Facebook at Survival Jobs, a podcast. And I am Jason A. Coombs on all the social medias.
And I am Sammy Toots on all the social medias.
Yes.
Yay! Happy Tonys, everyone. Julie, you are an icon.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank
you, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to just throw a quick, spontaneous, fun thing, Jason. For the first listener who DMs us about this episode, we will send you a copy of Julie's new CD when it's out.
Yes. Love it. There we go.
My mom is
boom.
It's gonna be your dad,
so
Steve. I love that.
Yay. Thank you so much. You are amazing.
Thank you. Oh, this was so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Yay.
Break all the legs.